Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you immigration law on your side.
Alright, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat mga kababayan, and welcome to another Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. I'm coming from Las Vegas. Ang ating kaibigan si Attorney Flomy J Diza is coming to us via Zoom sa San Francisco, California. At balita ko, kahit hundreds na ang temperature dito sa Las Vegas, masarap pa ang weather dyan sa San Francisco, California. Alamin natin yan with Attorney Diza mamaya-maya po lamang. In the meantime, pag-uusapan po natin yung gabi, understanding the TN work visa for Canadian and Mexican citizens. Alam mo, maraming mga kababayan natin na gusto pa rin pumunta dito sa Amerika despite na nandyan sila sa Canada or sa Mexico. If you're a Canadian or Mexican citizen with a job offer in the United States, like for example, nursing, marami tayong mga kababayan sa Canada na gusto pa rin pumunta sa Amerika na as a nurse. Well, great news for you. You may be eligible to enter on a TN status for Canadian and Mexican citizens who work in certain specialty occupations. The TN visa can be a great way to work here in the United States. If you are eligible, it is one of the quickest and most straightforward U.S. work authorizations to get. Alamin natin yung gabi with the partner at Reeves Immigration Law Group, Flomy J Diza, to help us understand the TN visa. Magandang gabi po sa iyo, Attorney Diza.
Yes, magandang gabi Kuya Johan, at nabanggit mo nga maganda ang weather dito sa Bay Area. Nasa 60s po tayo ngayon despite the summer. At alam natin sa ibang parte ng United States, 'di ba, mainit. They were saying that, one of the hottest days, for the last centuries ay this year. At yung iba naman ay bumabaha. But anyway, we have a great weather here at the Bay Area.
Aha.
Medyo exciting yung ating pag-uusapan ngayon dahil ang TN visa, nakakakuha tayo ng mga consultation, mga Canadian, Filipino-Canadian or Filipino-Mexican clients, right, where they have many relatives in the United States at gusto nila din, live and work in the US, and this is great opportunity for them to learn what is the TN visa.
All right, so let's get the ball rolling, Attorney. Ano po itong TN visa? Mga kaibigan, ilang beses na natin nabanggit ito. Ang alphabet soup ng US immigration. Aside from yung mga single letters, meron pa palang double letter katulad ng letter T at letter N. Attorney, ano po itong TN visa na ito?
Yes, the TN refers to trade NAFTA. Yung NAFTA naman is also like an acronym for the North American Free Trade Agreement, right? So it's a trade NAFTA visa. Ito yung non-immigrant. Ibig sabihin, it's also a temporary non-immigrant employment visa only for Canadian and Mexican citizens who comes here to work on specific professional areas. So may agreement po ang US government at ang citizens ng Canada and Mexico na tinatawag natin yung NAFTA. Now, yung NAFTA today is known as the US, Mexico, Canada, or the USMCA agreement. It exists to foster the economic trade relationship between these three countries. Qualified Canadians and Mexican citizens can stay and work in the United States on the TN visa authorization. Now, this is valid for 3 years, at pwedeng i-renew din for another 3 years until such time whether or not you decide to immigrate or file an immigrant visa petition from your employer or from a family member. Right? So, nabanggit mo nga kanina, Kuya Johan, marami sa mga kababayan natin na despite the fact na Canadian citizen na sila, they still wish to immigrate to the US kasi nandito ang kanilang pamilya, nandito ang kanilang kamag-anak, mga kaibigan. And of course, there are better opportunities, when it comes to education, the weather, etc. Diba? Maraming konsiderasyon bakit ang mga kababayan natin they still want to migrate to the US and as you mentioned, this is the quickest and one of the fastest way. So make sure mga kababayan that this only applies for Canadians and Mexicans. So pwede kayong Filipino-Canadian, pwede Filipino-Mexican. So either dual citizenship po kayo or multiple po ang inyong nationality kasama ang Canada, then you are eligible to apply this visa.
Okay, so attorney, ang mga requirements for our kababayans and also for kahit hindi natin kababayan na gustong gamitin ng TN visa?
Yes, ang TN visa is for professionals. Parang counterpart ito ng H-1B. Right? So, ang difference is, well, parehong professional yan. The pangalawa, pareho ring non-immigrant. Ibig sabihin, it's temporary 3 years. It can be renewed for another 3 years and increment of 1 year after that. Parehong tawag nito, kung ipipetition kayo ng employer, pwedeng leading to green card. Diba? Yung labor certification or the EB1, EB2, EB3. The difference, basically, ang TN, of course, applies only to specific nationality, which is Canada and Mexico, na nationals. Ang H1B kasi, kahit saang national ka, kasamang Pilipinas. Now, the other difference is ang H1B, it opens only the month of April 1. So, usually, prepare na natin yan, nagre-register ng mga employer sa buwan ng Marso. Itong TN anytime, wala pong restriction. And the other good difference also is that ang TN wala pong restriction, di ba? Walang quota na 65,000 every year, right? Hindi yung tipong papalarin ka, anong chances mo, 1:3, 1:4. So itong TN visa is wala. And also you can apply sa border. So those are the good things about the TN. Kung kayo po nag-explore, to come to the US using the TN visa. Now, as you mentioned, Kuya Johan, ang requirement dito is, of course, number one, you need to be a Canadian or Mexican national, no? So, kailangan i-provide niyo ang proof that you are a Canadian or Mexican citizen by either yung inyong citizenship or yung inyong passport. Ito'y hindi available, mga kababayan, ulitin natin, na hindi pa eligible po kayo kung kayo po ay permanent residents na ng Canada o Mexico. So, hintayin po ninyo na kayo po mag-citizen. That's the only time you can file for the TN visa. Of course, ang isa sa mga requirements, then you have to have a pre-arranged full-time or part-time job offer in the United States na kailangan a US employer or a foreign employer within the US entity. So dito dapat sa Amerika ang inyong employer, right? And then you are qualified to practice this profession. As you mentioned kanina, either bachelor's degree, master's degree, to prove the educational requirements. So basically, engineering, law, accountant, teachers, lahat yan eligible din kayo, and very common na mga client natin are registered nurses. So isa pang difference nga pala, yung H1B usually kasi hindi eligible generally hindi kayo eligible ng H1B dahil as we mentioned, ang mga nurses dito, for you to take up and become a nurse, you don't have to necessarily have a bachelor's degree, di ba? Pwede kayong associate degree lang, and then magiging nurse na kayo. So in this situation for TNs, as long as you have the bachelor's degree, you can apply for a TN visa if you are a registered nurse.
And it goes without saying, attorney, na kailangan sila ay lisensyado. For example, for nurses, they have to have the license, ano, attorney?
Correct. You need to be licensed.
So ito pong mga kababayan natin who would want to apply for a TN visa, how do they start the process, attorney? Kailangan ba mauna mayroong job offer? Magtatanong sila sa mga hospitals dito or any other entities, sa mga casino or something?
Yes, they need to have like a job offer parang H1B. So it is going to be an employment-driven petition. So maghanap ng employer at saka dapat meron po silang job offer.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so attorney, how do we start the ball rolling pagka gusto nila at meron na silang job offer? Is it the employer who will be applying for this? But as you said a while ago, kahit sa border, pwede mag-apply nito, ano po, attorney?
Yes, but that's true. The employer should initiate the process and provide a letter, employment verification letter. Right, for Canadians, for you to apply for this TN visa, right, you don't have, may dalawang paraan yan eh. So yung nabanggit natin kanina, either through the consulate, US consulate, kung saan man kayo nakatira, di ba, or at the border. Na while you are at the consulate, you need to present yung mga documents na kailangan po ninyo, kagaya ng job offer, yung Canadian passport nyo, at the US Customs and Border Protection, right, sa designated port of entry. So for halimbawa, dyan sa border, dyan sa Seattle area or Vancouver, then you can present your TN visa application or yung pre-flight inspection post sa Canadian airport. So halimbawa, bago kayo mag-depart, pwede mo i-present yan sa CBP and they will decide your application. Of course, isa sa mga documents that are very important for Canadian national is yung Canadian passport, as we mentioned, and syempre yung letter ng inyong prospective employer na detalyado ang inyong professional position, gaano katagal yung stay ninyo at saka ano yung purpose ng inyong employment, and of course showing your educational attainment. Kailangan din Kuya Johan na may evaluation yung Canadian academic credentials for US equivalency. So usually madaling i-prove naman to dahil syempre kung sa Canada po kayo graduate or sa Pilipinas, kailangan nyo ng equivalency dito sa US. So kailangan nyo. Then applicable fees, yun yung unang option for Canadians. So they can just present the CBP as you mentioned at the border or yun sa pre-flight departure sa any of the airports na nila sa Canada. Now, pwede rin, Kuya Johan, na ang employer would also file yung I-129 para sa H-1B. Ito yung employer petition for non-immigrant worker, right, sa USCIS. At pag na-approve na yun, they can actually either go to the port of entry or pwede rin sa US Embassy by showing the Canadian passport or the form I-129, yung approval ng I-129 o ito yung petition for non-immigrant worker. So it's really important na kahit na i-file na ng employer ninyo at na-approve na yung inyong petition sa TN petition, kailangan mo pa rin dalhin yung supporting documents when you go to the interview. So saka kailangan magbayad. So very po yan Kuya Johan, it's a lot easier and faster as we mentioned, di ba? Hindi kagaya ng H-1B that you have to register for the employer, the registration ng employer para dun sa lottery, and after you got picked, di ba, then you file the I-129 and then you have to wait for the processing time, whether you do a premium processing or the regular processing. Then once it's approved, dun pa lang may schedule ng interview ang mga aplikante sa consulate, whereas in this situation pwedeng i-present ang inyong application sa border. Now this is different sa Mexico kasi generally ang Mexico naman yung second step ang sinusunod, right? They have to apply at the embassy sa Mexico, US Embassy at the Mexico. So kailangan mag-apply online yung DS-160. Ito yung application naman sa lahat ng mga non-immigrants, di ba? Whether you're applying as a tourist, as L1, or H-1Bs and even TNs, right? Kailangan mo yung DS-160. This is for non-immigrant. And then kailangan nyo ng requirements sa when you fill out the form, kailangan yung photograph and then mag-schedule kayo ng interview and the interview will be conducted sa Mexico, right? And then kailangan magbayad ng mga fees. Mga basic requirement dyan, Kuya Johan, of course, yung passport, Mexican passport, yung confirmation page that you have submitted, yung DS-160, proof that you have paid, saka yung photograph ninyo, and of course, very important yung employer, yung letter from the employer. At of course, documentation to demonstrate that you meet the requirements for your profession and position. So, ibig sabihin yung mga diploma, transcript, credential evaluations. So, yun yung paraan para makakuha kayo ng visa. It's a non-immigrant, valid for 3 years, and then it could be renewed for another 3 years, and you're able to work, you're able to enjoy the work authorization with that employer, at be able to file your taxes and talk to your employer if either they want to renew after the expiration after the 3 years, or if you can explore other options like petitioning you to become a green card.
Alright, attorney, may pumasok ditong katanungan para sa atin while we're discussing this. Just out of curiosity, itong mga kababayan natin, especially those who are outside of the United States, tinatanong nila, bakit kailangan pa ng visa ang isang Canadian citizen, gayong nakakapasok naman sila ditong walang visa ang mga Canadian, Pero ang pinag-uusapan po natin ito, kung magtatrabaho po sila dito sa Amerika, po, attorney?
Correct. Kasi ang Canadian national po, you don't really need a visa. In fact, kailangan mo lang ng Canadian what do you call is passport, diba, to enter, right? So you are able to stay here for 3 months, a maximum of 3 months. But remember, mga kababayan, the purpose of your stay is just to visit, diba? Parang B1, B2 yan. You're allowed to come here and you're not supposed to be working. So if you want to work on a specific employer, TN visa po ang ipa-file ng mga kababayan natin. So yung visa or Canadian passport to enter the US, Kuya Johan, is just for them to be able to come here to visit, but not allowed to work. And ito na yung TN for them to be able to work.
If attorney, just in case nandito na sila sa US, napupunta ng Disneyland o kaya umikot dyan sa San Francisco, nakakuha ng employer. While they are here on their visit, are they able to adjust or apply for a TN visa?
We do recommend them to go home and obtain a TN visa overseas instead of filing for change of status. Kasi as we mentioned, it's the same with other kind of non-immigrant visa. The problem with changing status is when you leave, right, you still have to have a visa. Diba? So, pag uwi mo, pag alis mo, right, wala ka ng, halimbawa, you change status, and then pag umalis ka ng US, bumalik ka sa Canada, wala kang visa. You still have to apply the TN again, right, at the port of entry. So recommended is to apply outside so that you're able to come back and forth to the US without the issue of you going to the embassy pag nag-change status po kayo.
Isa pang tinatanong nila, attorney, while they're working here for X number of years in the United States, are they able to switch employers?
Yeah, so switching employer, this is an employment driven, the TN visa holder may only work here for the employer associated with your original visa application. So kung gusto po ninyong nakahanap kayo ng mas magandang trabaho or gusto niyo mag-switch ng employers or consider changing companies, magre-reapply kayo ng TN visa with new employers sponsorship.
Ayun, okay. So hindi pwedeng pa-jump.
Yeah, ang H1B usually may change of employer. Pwede yan without you going back, di ba? So, ang hindi kagaya ng TN, babalik ka sa, di ba, magre-reapply ka ulit with the new letter from the new employer. Ang H1B is, this is what we call, I-129. Magpa-file ka pa rin ng I-129 form, and then you just say change of employer.
Attorney, how many years ang validity ng TN visa?
Same as the H1B, it's valid for 3 years and it can be renewed for another 3 years and the increment of 1 year.
Ayun. So if you're here already and then your TN is expiring, you can extend from here inside the United States na.
Yes, same employer, you can extend for another 3 years as long as there's that job offer is also extended. So remember, when the employer write that letter for you, it's valid for 3 years because that's only the maximum allowed at a single approval. So once you file an extension, you also want to have the continuous offer of employment or the job offer has been extended.
Attorney, one of the things that amazes our kababayan listeners from outside the US, yung mga nasa Pilipinas especially, is the joy of crossing the borders just by driving your car. The drive ka lang from California, drive ka dire-diretso hanggang makarating ka ng Canada. Ang tanong nila, attorney, is itong TN visa na ito kailangan mo ito kung kunwari the drive cross border ka, po, attorney? And if you will work.
Yes, if you work and drive, yeah, and then you can go back without problem. So, for example, gusto mong umuwi every week, pwede rin.
Ayun.
Ganon din sa Mexico. Actually, kung gusto ninyo, drive, kung mas mura may mga tayong ganyan, Kuya Yoka, na mas mura ang housing, sa Mexico, and
right.
Ang pagitan lang nila is yung border, at siyempre pag lalo na kung meron kang special lane or meron silang tinatawag din na parang alam mo yung TSA approved sa airport, 'di ba? Meron din sa border So yung para mapapa-expedite yung kanilang hindi kagaya yung magpipila ka ng tatlong oras bago makarating. But those people who have been vetted, right, they have the special lane to just go back and forth. And having that visa would allow them, to cross the border easily without problem and go back to Mexico, and if they prefer, doon sila magkaroon ng bahay or mag-establish ng family.
That's right, and we assume that goes the same with Canada. We have a lot of kababayans, attorney, some of whom have visited the radio station as well, who are actually from Windsor in Canada, and then nagtatrabaho sila sa Detroit. So all they have to do is cross the bridge And ginagawa nila ay everyday sila umuwi. And ganun din yung mga kababayan natin na nasa Windsor, pupunta sila sa Detroit para mag-casino sa MGM so they can come back and forth. And if you have the TN visa, you can work at any of the hospitals if you are a nurse in Detroit and go home sa Windsor sa Canada on a daily basis. Pwede pala po yun, attorney.
Pwede yan, o pwede rin dyan sa Vancouver or closer to Vancouver, di ba? O kung Seattle ang inyong trabaho, right? Yung close to the border, kasi nasa taas lang din ng California and Nevada ang Vancouver, di ba?
Yes.
So it's really easy. Maraming gumagawa niyaan, but of course, depende na rin sa inyo kung saan po niyo gustong mag-stay, at depende rin sa mahanap din yung employer kung saan po kayo, saan po yung trabahong gagawin po ninyo.
Nako, this is an exciting discussion. Mga kababayan, if you just joined us, we're talking about the TN visa para sa ating mga Mexican and Canadian nationals who want to work here in the United States. Now, attorney, being able to work here in the United States, as we've said at the top of the program, will probably be a wonderful thing to do, especially for some of our professionals na kababayan. Pero attorney, kung meron silang pamilya na nandyan sa Canada, they're all Canadian citizens as well, can they bring their family through a TN visa, some sort of a derivative visa?
Yes, they can. The good thing about most non-immigrant visas, they're able to bring a spouse, and minor children. The same thing with the TN visa. Ang tawag sa kanilang visa is TD, right? They are dependents ng TN. But of course, ang question dito, Kuya Johan, is would they be able to work? Unfortunately, parang H-1B rin yan na hindi sila allowed magtrabaho, although may mga exceptions sa H-1B. Diba? The same thing with the TN. Once the labor certification or the I-140 has been filed, right, they can probably apply for the 765. But of course, you have to check ang USCIS website if they would allow you to file work authorization once that labor certification or I-140 has been filed. But the good news about the TN dependents, the spouse and minor children, although they are not able to work right away, they are able to go to school, right?
Wow.
Hindi sila hanapan ng student visa. So being a dependent ng TN, they are able to go to school.
Mm-hmm. And as we've said, this is a non-immigrant path for you to be able to get work authorizations here in the United States. What if in the future nagustuhan na ng family that they will reside in the United States permanently? How can they go about adjusting that, attorney? Is there like a path to becoming an immigrant?
That's really a very good question. A lot of mga Filipino-Canadian clients that we have, right, on a TN visa, we advise them to talk to their employer, as soon as they arrive the U.S. And part of the agreement sana is, leading to green card, especially if they want it here already, right? Ang problema kasi pag, you find an employer, right, they want to maximize your stay, lalo kung magaling ka, gusto ka nila, di ba? Hindi yung tipong, okay, nasa TN visa ka o kukunin kita ng green card, then alis ka na. So what do most employers do, H-1B or TN visa, is to maximize, right, lalo kung magaling ka, right, yung stay mo sa kanila. So the maximum, like 3 years, then renew for another 3 years, and then, of course, yung increment na 1 year na sinasabi natin until such time the visa is available. So anong ibig sabihin natin? So, usapin yung employer ninyo and talk to them to start the process ng inyong green card. And of course, as we mentioned, non-immigrant ito, you can renew, as a non-immigrant, pero walang permanency And then you gotta be stuck with that employer. Or kung ayaw ng employer sa'yo, maghanap ka na naman ng panibagong employer. So, if you start the process, ang process na yan is labor certification, I-140 leading to green card. As we all know, ang tawag nito, ang visa bulletin for the EB3, right? It was available during the time nag-usap tayo ko yun, I think last year. Then nag-retrogress siya this year ng 3 taon, di ba? So they're processing now, I think 2020, 2022. There's like 1 year retrogression, and we don't know if babalik, yung processing time or yung priority date mo na 5 years na naman ang waiting time, even if you are professional, right? So starting with the labor certification, kasi medyo mahirap din yan, right? At medyo matagal kasi you have to wait for the prevailing wage. Then your employer will start, the recruitment, the advertisement and recruitment, and then filing it with Department of Labor. And that alone takes about a year or more, right? Kasi lalong-lalo matagal ang prevailing wage ngayon. Then after the labor certification, ito yung I-140, and of course, you have to maintain the status, di ba, as a TN. So, wag po kayong mag-fall out of status kung pa-expire na ang inyong TN visa, kailangan i-renew. Kasi kung mayroon kayong gagawin sa inyo na labor certification leading to green card, that may take about 3 years, probably 2 to 5 years, depende sa visa availability. And of course, sabi natin, ang TN naman, kung maka 6 years ka, and then you start the green card process right away, diba, 2 to 3 years, hopefully mag-transition kayo from a TN to a EB3, a professional, employment-based green card. So, yun yung leading to green card ko, Johan. Or, it won't also prevent you from bearing a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident. Halimbawa, wala pa kayong asawa, right? At, nakahanap kayo ng U.S. citizen dito, you can always adjust status through that marriage. Or, mayroon kayong anak naman na 21 years old, dito yung pinanganak at one time, bubisita kayo ng Disneyland at kayo nanganak dito, right? And then 21 years old na yung bata, then you can also adjust through that U.S. citizen child. Now, ang magulang po ninyo, let's say kayo po ay over 21 na, syempre, nagkakaroon kayo ng TN visa, meron kayong magulang na magpe-petition sa inyo dito, right? If you were born in the Philippines, ang category ninyo dun sa visa bulletin, you're still Filipino. Yung marami rin tatanong sa akin, Kuya Johan, paano yan, attorney, Canadian na ako, yung petition ng mother ko sa'yo, mother sa akin, nasa Canadian na. Kasi yung other chargeability, di ba, yung other countries, Kuya Johan, mas mabilis compared sa Filipino, di ba? Ang Filipino isa sa mga backlog cases. So if you look at those other nationalities, except for the Philippines, China, India, and the Philippines and Mexico, yung 4 to 5 countries na yan ang backlog So people would say, hey, attorney, Canadian na ako, can I looking at the visa bulletin na mas mabilis ang other countries, di ba? Hindi na Pilipino, but the law provides, right, Immigration and Nationality Act provides that when you look at the visa bulletin, ang country of chargeability mo is the country of birth, hindi po country of citizenship. So just keep that in mind, when your parents file for you.
Akala nila makaka-shortcut na sila, attorney.
Yes, akala but the good thing about Kuya Johan nga pala, since we are segueing to the petition ng family on how to adjust the status, so let's say pinetition kayo as married naman, right, married person, right? If you look at the married person sa Philippines ngayon is 21 years, If you marry a Canadian national. Kuya Johan, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, attorney.
Okay, sorry. So if you marry a Canadian national, pwedeng yung chargeability mo pwedeng Canadian. Diba? Like let's say, born in Canada at hindi siya Filipino, right? Never be a Filipino citizen. Kahit Canadian, kahit Filipino ang descent niya, ang kanyang parents, pero born in Canada at never become a Filipino, pwedeng i-charge yung nationality ng asawa ninyo, diba? And that's also a good thing about cross-chargeability, because instead of using your Filipino citizenship in determining yung priority date mo, pwedeng gamitin yung si spouse.
Ayun, okay. Attorney, kung medyo kailangan nila ng guidance in trying to find out if this is a best thing for them, mga kababayan natin, either in Mexico or Canada, would they be able to reach out to your office?
Yes, the Reeves Immigration Law Group. We have offices here in San Francisco, where I am based, and also in Walnut Creek. That's also in the Northern California. We have an office in Los Angeles area, in Pasadena, and Makati, and we have one in China. We do Zoom consultation like what we're doing right now. We also accept clients in-person appointment, and then we discuss your immigration concerns. And also, like yung mga kababayan natin, there are millions of Filipinos already in the U.S. I'm sorry, in Canada. They're Canadian national, Filipino-Canadian. And if you want to immigrate to the US, madali po ang TN, lalong-lalo na yung mga nasa healthcare professionals, mga registered nurses, physical therapists, and other occupations, other professions, as long as you are able to find an employer who's willing to give you that job offer to come and work here on a TN visa. You can see our office phone number in San Francisco is 415-568-3777. Call us, and if you mention PHLV radio dun sa inyong reference, we'll give you a great discount if you have a case. And also, like our social media account, no, ang Facebook natin, ang Instagram, ang LinkedIn, and by the way, Kuya Johan, may Threads account ka na ba?
Ay, no, meron na.
Right, so we might have Thread account as well. So follow us on our social media. Mahirap na mag-control ng ating mga social media dahil sa dami na mga lumalabas. But I think Thread is a good, good one for social media.
Right.
Maraming salamat, Kuya Johan, and I'll see you in person next time.
Nako, yes, we can't wait to have you here at the studio for our next episode ng ating immigration law on your side. Attorney, baka meron pa kayong mga ibang updates?
Yun lang, Kuya Johan, at I'm really excited to see you in person.
All right.
In about 2 weeks.
All right. So we'll take you guys to another episode of Immigration Law on Your Side. We're gonna be both here in Las Vegas sa ating studios sa Maryland Parkway. Mangyari po lamang na i-comment sa ating social media pages and sa post na ito, whether you're watching us on YouTube or Amazon Fire TV or on Facebook, comment lamang kung anong mga tanong nyo at makakarating po yan kay Attorney Diza. Attorney, once again, maraming salamat.
Thank you, Kuya Johan. It's my pleasure.
All
Have
right.
a great day too.
Maraming salamat. Galing po sa Las Vegas, Nevada. Ito po si Kuya Yo, si Attorney Diza. Galing po sa San Francisco, California. Ito po ang inyong Immigration Law on Your Side, coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada sa PHLV Radio. We stream Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific. We will see you next time.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees, even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on Your Side. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio.